Tonight on ABC News Live Prime, thousands of jobs on the line. With Congress heading into the second day of a government shutdown, the White House warns mass layoffs are imminent and likely going to be in the thousands. How long the shutdown will last.
I'm Rachel Scott here on Capitol Hill with a look at how the administration is targeting programs important to Democrats, including blocking projects in at least 16 states that voted blue in the last presidential election.
Deadly attack at a synagogue filled with worshipers on the holiest day of the Jewish calendar. The violence declared a terrorist incident. The attacker dead after police opened fire. What officials are saying about the suspect. New video shows two Delta planes filled with passengers colliding at New York's LaGuardia Airport. The wing of one aircraft slamming into the cockpit windows of the other.
Oh my God, we're just flying with another surgery.
The damages and frightening moments that left crew stunned and a flight attendant injured. Startling statistics on just how many Americans behind bars are actually innocent. The head of the Innocence Project joins us tonight on International Wrongful Conviction Day with details of how they're working to free the innocent.
When we think of stats and, how many people are innocent who are in prison today, estimates are between 2 and 6% of the prison population. That could mean, anywhere from 25 to 75,000 people.
And she is one of the forefront voices in pop music, both in front of the mic and behind the scenes. Very likely the writer of one of your favorite pop songs of the last decade, writing for everyone from Sabrina Carpenter to Justin Bieber. Julia Michaels joins us for tonight's playlist.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is Prime with Linsey Davis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Linsey Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We are tracking a terror attack in the UK at a temple on the holiest Jewish holiday and a terrifying incident between two planes at LaGuardia. But we do begin this Thursday night in Washington with the government shutdown now in its second full day. Both sides continue to play the blame game. Tonight, the Trump administration is ramping up the threat, saying the number of federal workers who could be fired is, quote, likely going to be in the thousands. Trump met today with his budget chief, weighing which programs could be on the chopping block. Democrats, though, are holding firm, demanding Republicans agree to restore Affordable Care Act subsidies. And right now, millions of federal workers are wondering when or if they'll see their next paycheck. We'll hear from lawmakers on both sides of the aisle coming up. At first, ABC senior political correspondent Rachel Scott leads us off from Capitol Hill.
Tonight, with the government shutdown now in its second day, President Trump says he's meeting with his budget director to decide which government programs he can eliminate, calling this moment a, quote, unprecedented opportunity.
I'm allowed to cut things that should have never been approved in the first place, and I will probably do that.
The White House saying prepare for mass firings of government workers.
Are we talking hundreds? Are we talking thousands?
Look, it's likely going to be in the thousands.
Negotiations with Democrats at a standstill.
People say, why aren't you negotiating with Schumer and Jeffries? Because I quite literally have nothing to negotiate.
Democrats refuse to accept that.
The White House is now threatening to fire thousands of federal employees. Is that a risk that you're willing to take by putting up this fight, and for how long?
The Trump administration has been firing thousands of federal employees outside of the context of a government shutdown since January 20th. Literally, they've been engaging in mass firings. The Trump administration. They need to come to the table.
Democrats want Republicans to reverse Medicaid cuts and extend expiring Obamacare subsidies so health insurance premiums don't go up for millions of Americans like Kristen Furman Simmons and Ken in Buckport, Maine, who is battling MS.
It is a really difficult thing to weigh the value of your life against the cost of affordable care.
She says if the Obamacare subsidies expire, her premiums could go up 169%.
So we're really not sure what's going to happen with that and really where we're going to find that money in our budget.
But tonight's stalemate, with some 4 million federal workers wondering when they'll see their next paycheck. Many worrying they won't even have a job to go back to when this shutdown ends.
So many concerned about the situation. Rachel Scott joins us now from Capitol Hill. And Rachel, is there any indication that the sides are nearing a deal?
Well, Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries told us today that he has not spoken to anyone at the White House, the president, or even Speaker of the House Mike Johnson. So right now, these two sides don't even appear to be having negotiations. Tomorrow, the Senate does come back into session, and Senate Majority Leader John Thune says if Democrats do not vote to fund the government, he will likely be sending lawmakers home for the weekend, which means that this shutdown could drag on for at least another few days, Lindsay.
All right, Rachel Scott from the Hill for us. Thanks so much, Rachel. Now to a deadly attack at a synagogue. It happened on Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year for the Jewish community. The suspect rammed a car into a crowd and then went on a stabbing rampage before being surrounded and killed by police. 3 others are also in custody. ABC's Lama Hassan is in England with the latest.
Tonight, the dramatic moment. Officers surround the man accused of a deadly terror attack at a Manchester synagogue on Yom Kippur, the holiest day on the Jewish calendar.
Everybody else, get back!
The suspect, seen on the ground wearing a vest, police fearing it was a bomb, shooting and killing him just 7 minutes after the attack began.
I heard bang bang, and then we heard the helicopters, we heard the siren.
The horror unfolding at 9:31 this morning in the heart of an Orthodox Jewish community. Police say the suspect rammed a car into a crowd, jumped out and started stabbing people. At least 2 men killed, 3 more seriously injured.
This attack has been officially declared as a terrorist incident.
Authorities say the suspect tried to get inside the synagogue.
Thanks to the immediate bravery of security staff and the worshippers inside, as well as the fast response of the police, the attacker was prevented from gaining access.
Tonight, police identifying the suspect as 35-year-old Jihad al-Shami, a British citizen of Syrian descent. And authorities also arresting 2 men and 1 woman in connection with the attack. Tonight, this community shaken.
Everyone's concerned, everybody's worried, everybody's scared, and we shouldn't be scared to feel or believe in what we believe.
So many feeling that way. Lama Hassan joins us now. Lama, how is law enforcement responding not only in the UK but in the US as well?
Yeah, Lindsay, what we know is that authorities tonight are stepping up security at Jewish institutions across the UK, and we understand that the NYPD is closely monitoring the situation. Now, we understand that the investigation is ramping up here, and the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, reassuring the Jewish community, saying that he promises to do everything in his power to guarantee them security. Lindsay?
Lama Hassan for us. Thanks so much, Lama. We are seeing alarming images of yet another plane incident. 2 Delta airline planes collided at New York's LaGuardia Airport on the taxiway. Both jets were damaged on one plane. The nose and windshield were banged up on the other part of the wing. ABC's Matt Rivers is at LaGuardia tonight.
Tonight, this time-lapse video capturing the moment 2 Delta regional jets collided on the taxiway at New York's LaGuardia Airport. The impact damaging the nose and windshield of one plane, parts of the other plane's right wing seen shredded on the ground.
We have 2 CRJs on mic that collided.
Delta says the low-speed collision occurred around 10 p.m. last night. Flight 5047 arriving from Charlotte, North Carolina, turning on the taxiway. Flight 5155 heading to Roanoke, Virginia, traveling straight down the taxiway, told by air traffic control to hold short, but it keeps moving, striking the other jet.
Their right wing clipped our nose and the cockpit. We have damage to our windscreen.
Plane stopped, jerked, and jumped to the right. Everyone went dead silent. The pilot calmly came on, said, "Hey, we've been in a crash." Everyone remained calm.
Thomas Heineman on the other plane, filming its arrival during the moment of impact.
Oh my God. We just collided with another CRJ.
We're just taxiing pretty normally. And then a second later, I felt a big bump. I was just more shaken than anything.
Nearly 100 passengers and crew from both flights deplaning on the taxiway and bus to the terminal.
Such scary moments. Matt Rivers joins us now from LaGuardia Airport in New York. Matt, what do we know about the people on board those flights?
Well, that for the most part, they're all okay, miraculously, Lindsay. Only 1 flight attendant of all the people on board those 2 planes was treated for minor injuries, but that flight attendant okay at this point. We also know the FAA and the NTSB now investigating. Lindsay.
Matt Rivers for us. Thanks so much, Matt. Questions about the background and education of the ex-superintendent of Des Moines Public Schools tonight as he faces deportation and a host of charges after getting detained by ICE. School leaders say they are victims of deception. Here's our Alex Perez.
Tonight, the former superintendent of Iowa's largest school district now behind bars. The DOJ charging Ian Roberts with one count of being an illegal alien in possession of firearms.
I'm excited to be a part of this journey.
Roberts, a native of Guyana, resigned from his position as the Des Moines superintendent Tuesday after he was detained nearly a week ago on allegations he was in the country illegally. School district officials say 2 years ago, Roberts claimed he had a doctorate from Morgan State University, but they say records showed he never obtained it. Despite the discrepancy, the district still hired him. Now, MIT saying Roberts' claim he was an MBA student there is also false. And George Washington University saying the Principal of the Year award Roberts boasted he received does not exist. In a statement, the Des Moines School Board saying they are a victim of deception, but Roberts' attorney asking the public to withhold judgment.
This is a very complex case. Take it a step at a time.
ICE officials say Roberts entered the U.S. in 1999 on a student visa and was given a final order of removal in May of 2024. Authorities say he tried to evade arrest and was in possession of multiple firearms.
Our thanks to Alex. The Trump administration continues in its efforts to have universities eliminate their DEI initiative, sending letters on Wednesday to 9 universities, laying out principles it wants them to agree to in exchange for preferential access to federal funds. For more on this, let's turn to ABC's Alex Perchet. So, Alex, what does the memo demand from universities in exchange for preferential funding?
Well, Lindsay, I should caution that this letter that was sent to these universities, it's soliciting signatures, but it's also soliciting feedback. But it's a 10-point memo sent to these 9 initial universities, and it's demanding bans for the use of race or sex in hiring and admissions. It's also calling for a freeze on tuition for 5 years. It wants to cap international undergraduate enrollment at 15%, and it's also requiring that applicants take standardized admission tests, things like the SAT. Now, the White House press secretary said that this could be a sign of encouragement to do what's right for students in terms of ensuring free speech and preventing anti-Semitic and what it calls illegal behaviors on campuses.
And Alex, there was also a strong response today from the 2 unions with the largest number of higher education workers. What do they have to say?
Yeah, so we heard from the American Federation of Teachers and also the American Association of Undergraduate University Professors, and they blasted this letter. They called it a Trump loyalty pledge. They said it stinks of favoritism, patronage, and bribery, and they also called it totally corrupt. And Lindsay, keep in mind that this is coming as the university has been embroiled in a legal battle with a number of elite universities this year over what it calls anti-Semitism and also illegal DEI practices. In fact, we've heard from universities like Columbia and Brown that have actually settled multi-million-dollar settlements with the government here.
All right, Alex Perchet for us. Thanks so much, Alex. Back now to the government shutdown. We're taking a live look now at the Capitol, where the House and Senate were not in session today. We'll hear from both sides of the aisle now on the latest state of play. We begin with Democrat Congressman Gabe Amo of Rhode Island. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. So the House is out of session until next Tuesday. You all have to wait for the Senate to pass a funding bill first. Is there anything that you and your fellow rank-and-file Democratic House members can do, or is it simply waiting out and see what happens in the Senate?
Well, first off, thanks for having me this evening. The fact of the matter is, this is a Republican-driven shutdown. The Republicans have the White House. They have the House. They have the Senate. And they've made the decision to opt into a shutdown rather than address the health care of the American people. Democrats simply want Republicans to come to the table in a bipartisan way to lower costs, to save health care, and to stop their draconian health care cuts. And so what I will continue to do, as I am here in Rhode Island, is make the case to the public on why we need to see Republicans end this shutdown, because they have the ability to solve this problem on our healthcare in collaboration with Democrats.
What are your constituents there telling you? Are they saying hold the line, hold out, keep the government shut down as long as you can try and make these changes with regard to healthcare?
My constituents resoundingly are telling me that their healthcare concerns are a primary reason we need to keep making the case for Republicans to come to the table and end this shutdown. Fact of the matter is, when the ACA tax credits expire, if they are let to expire, you will see premium increases of over 200%. You will see so many people opt out of getting healthcare coverage. This only makes people poorer and makes people sicker. And that's why we're fighting so robustly for the healthcare of the American people. The $1 trillion taken out of our healthcare system by Republicans only leaves people worse off. So I compel my Republican colleagues to think about their constituents, the people we work for, not Donald Trump, but the people in our districts who are asking us to act on their health care priorities.
Now, Republicans in the Senate have said that they'll talk to Democrats about the Affordable Care Act subsidies. They just need to vote on the opening the government first. The House doesn't require bipartisanship to conduct its business. Are any of your Republican colleagues in the House negotiating with Democrats?
I don't believe so. Well, I was at work on Monday and Tuesday in Washington, D.C. at the Capitol, and we showed up en masse and saw barely any Republicans around. I could count on one hand. And so the task here is to come to the table and address the healthcare concerns versus trying to strike some deal. We cannot take their word. They have already reneged on multiple deals. They are already committed to destroying the healthcare of the American people. We saw that in their support for the big, ugly law that hurt our healthcare system, hurts a state like mine in Rhode Island, where cuts to Medicaid will mean that our hospital systems don't run, will mean individuals struggle to get the healthcare access they deserve, in combination with the expiration of the ACA tax credits.
The Trump administration is moving forward with plans to fire thousands of federal workers while negotiations drag on. What do you say to those government workers who are now wondering if they'll even have a job to go back to once the government reopens?
Well, first off, I say thank you to anybody who has entered the arena to serve our government. As a public employee, as a contractor, those jobs are so critically important. But you see, the Trump administration's actions, especially that of Russell Vought and President Trump, demonstrates that they want this shutdown. They want to ensure that their agenda, which was laid out in Project 2025, which was disavowed by so many people across the country and taking Donald Trump's word that he wasn't involved. He is part of this, hand in glove with the architect who wants to destroy the administrative state, hurt the ability of public workers to do their jobs, to provide services for the American people. So I think we have to be loud and be bold and encourage our Republican colleagues on the other side of the aisle to ask, are they willing to tolerate this? Because we serve the American people, not Donald Trump. And the work of our public employees is essential, it's valuable, and it's something that we must preserve.
Congressman Gabe Amo, we thank you so much for your time.
For having me.
And for more now, we're joined by Texas Republican Congressman Pat Fallon. Thank you so much for joining us, Congressman. You heard what Representative Amo was just saying. He's blaming Republicans. You all blame Democrats. What's the off-ramp here?
Well, Linsey, let's talk, just beyond honesty, and let's talk about frankness and candor. The fact of the matter is that Democrats had the chance to vote for a clean CR. There's no new GOP priorities in the CR. And in fact, 13 different times under Joe Biden, there were CRs that Republicans didn't implode. And so to say that this is a fight over ACA tax credits is disingenuous, and it's not being honest with the American people, because that funding goes through December 31st. That's an issue that we should be dealing with in November and December, and everybody should have voted for this 7-week runway so the appropriations process can continue.
And same question that I asked of Congressman Amo. What are you hearing from your constituents? Are they telling you to hold the line?
Well, they're telling us not to keep the government shut down, and we don't want to keep the government shut down. I voted to keep it open. And in fact, 13 different times when Joe Biden was in office, Republicans didn't shut the government down as well. This is a fabricated fight because some folks just want to show their constituents that they're fighting against Donald Trump's agenda. Well, the fact of the matter is that the elections have consequences, and Republicans do hold the House, we do hold the Senate, we do hold the White House. But the reason why we shut down is because Chuck Schumer will not allow the Senate to vote. We need 60 votes in the Senate to allow for a vote. And they can vote against it then because we have plenty of votes to pass the CR, but Chuck Schumer won't allow that vote. And Linsey, this is very important because this is so historically unprecedented that in the last 165 years, in the history of the Republican Party, Republicans have never done this when they were in the minority. This is a legislative coup, and this is an attempt at minority rule.
If we could take the politics out of it for a moment, though, are you hearing from your constituents that they're concerned that their health care prices are going to skyrocket or they may not be able to afford it at all?
Well, again, we can deal with the ACA tax credits. What the Republicans have done is actually saved taxpayer money because in the One Big Beautiful Bill, we took 2.3 million people that weren't even eligible for Medicaid off the rolls. And according to the CBO, not the Republicans, not the Democrats, according to the CBO, that saved the American taxpayers $150 billion. So we want to prioritize American citizens over illegal immigrants because in the Democrats' unserious counterproposal to spend $1.5 trillion in new money on page 57, section 2141, it repeals that provision and then would allow aliens and even illegal immigrants to get those tax credits. And that's not fair.
Democratic lawmakers have taken to social media to point out what Donald Trump said about government shutdowns before he was ever president. Let's take a listen to this clip.
You know, I hear the Democrats are going to be blamed and the Republicans are going to be blamed. I actually think the president would be blamed. If there is a shutdown, I think it would be a tremendously negative mark on the president of the United States. He's the one that has to get people together.
Ultimately, does the buck stop with President Trump to end this shutdown?
Well, I think the buck stops with Chuck Schumer because he won't allow a vote. And I've got a quote for you, too, here, Linsey. Passing a clean CR this week is important. No reasonable member, Democrat or Republican, wants a government shutdown. Chuck Schumer said that on January 16th, 2024. I got quotes from Elizabeth Warren. I got quotes from Chris Murphy, the Democratic senator from Connecticut. They all say the government shutdowns harm the American people. And yet that's what precisely and exactly what they have just voted for. And they are absolutely shameless in this debate because they have no leg to stand on.
I'm just going back, though, to the president's comments before he was president, though. He said ultimately it's up to the president to get it done. The other people that you're citing are senators. They're not able to actually make that distinction on their own. How do you square the statement that Donald Trump made prior to being president with what he's saying now?
Oh, I agree. The president was ready to sign this CR. Chuck Schumer won't put it on his desk. That's the problem. And that's what's so unfair is Chuck Schumer is creating this crisis. So the president's ready to go. And by the way, the only way right now, the only other proposal we have from the Democrats is for the president to spend $1.5 trillion additional dollars. And that's not serious when you have a $36 trillion debt?
Texas Congressman Pat Fallon, we thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Linsey. God bless.
Coming up, a wild crash results in a car wedged into the window of a home. How police say it all started. And innocent until proven guilty, as the legal principle goes. But what happens when the innocent still end up behind bars? In tonight's Prime Focus, we take a look at those dedicated to overturning wrongful convictions. Is there a common thread when you hear from the people who are wrongfully convicted of the hardest part of all of this? Plus, revisiting your Snapchat memories could soon cost you. How much the company plans to charge for storage. Welcome back. Today, October 2nd, is International Wrongful Conviction Day, and the Innocence Project and Innocence Network are tirelessly working to try to free people who are innocent and behind bars. Earlier, we spoke with the head of the Innocence Project here in New York and their director of litigation to talk about how they take on cases, the best way people can be freed, and the devastating impact of a life behind bars. On this wrongful conviction day, we are so glad to be joined by representatives from the Innocence Project. Thank you both so much for being here. Since 1993, the Innocence Project has received, 65,000 letters from people who are saying that they're wrongfully convicted. How do you go about deciding which cases you're going to take on?
We have an extraordinary intake team, whose sole purpose is to go through the 2,000 requests for representation that we receive every single year. And that means reading every single letter, right, determining whether the information they have provided gives us a basis upon which to believe there is a way to exonerate them. And those letters are primarily processed looking for DNA cases, right? Can we use DNA evidence to exonerate these people? They then go, there's a very robust vetting process where we request all of the records in the case, the transcripts, the forensic reports, and that team does a comprehensive analysis of these requests for representation. And ultimately, we only accept 35 cases a year for representation, and those are the cases that we believe, having gone through a really rigorous vetting process, we can prove through science, through DNA, they can be proven innocent.
Obviously, when we're talking about wrongful convictions, there are a lot of stats, there are a lot of numbers, but it was important to us and our team to actually show some of the people and the faces and the lives. Is there a common thread when you hear from the people who are wrongfully convicted of the hardest part of all of this?
Well, there's so many parts because it's being separated from your family. It's everything that you've missed out upon. Parents die, and we have clients who weren't able to go to their mother's funeral. Their children grow up and they're returning home to grown children, and they went away when they were 3 or 4 years old. So it's everything that was missed. It's the trauma of being in prison. Prison's a really hard place by design, violent, and so it's everything that's endured. And yet, there's just an incredible tenacity. Our clients don't give up. They persevere. There's so many pictures up on the board, and in a way, these are, people who are unlucky because they were wrongfully convicted, but they are among the lucky people, because when we think of stats and, how many people are innocent who are in prison today, estimates are between 2 and 6% of the prison population. That could mean, anywhere from 25 to 75,000 people. So while we're seeing about 150 people be exonerated every year, that's not keeping pace with the problem.
Tell us about what you're working on right now.
Well, here on Wrongful Conviction Day, we stand just 2 weeks away from the scheduled execution of Robert Roberson in Texas, who is an innocent father on death row. His daughter, Nikki, died in 2002. She was very sick. She had undiagnosed pneumonia, was given improper medication, and then had an accident. And he rushed his daughter to the hospital. Robert has autism. He was judged by hospital personnel who didn't understand his reactions. He couldn't explain what happened to his daughter. And at that time, shaken baby syndrome was an unquestioned diagnosis. And so when there were certain characteristics called the triad seen in a child, it was just presumed that was diagnostic of abuse, and doctors and medical examiners didn't look any further. They thought they had the answer. But in the years since that time, we've come to know that there are other conditions that also mimic those conditions that are seen that used to be taken as absolute proof of shaken baby syndrome. And that's what Robert's daughter exhibited and what she had. And so he could be the first person in the United States executed based on shaken baby syndrome and evidence that we now know is unsupported.
We have a clip from a detective that helped to get that conviction. I'd like to play that.
I am Brian Wharton, and I was the lead detective in the case against Robert Roberson. I am now 100% convinced that Robert is an innocent man, that we made terrible mistakes. And now the state of Texas is poised to execute an innocent man on the 16th of October.
So if you have the lead detective saying, you know what, we made a mistake, we messed up, why isn't Robert Roberson then walking free?
It shows just how hard it is to undo a wrongful conviction. And here we are, not only is it the lead detective, but we have a groundswell of support, conservative lawmakers, a whole group of people who are coming together who are saying that this execution should not go forward, and yet it very well could. We need the courts to step in, either the Court of Criminal Appeals in Texas, the federal courts. Somebody next needs to step in and stop this execution.
What would
It'll
need
be
to
too
happen
late
to keep it from happening on October 16th?
Well, the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals could issue a stay of execution, so could the federal courts, and let Robert's case go back to the courts. We're asking for an opportunity to present these witnesses to a judge to get back into court. And the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals could issue a stay. The federal court in Texas could issue a stay, and that's what we're hoping for.
Are any of these options likely?
Well, we have to believe that they are likely, because we don't want to be in a position where 15 days from now we've executed an innocent man. We're not going to be able to go back and fix that.
Why should people at home care?
The reality is that we believe in a criminal legal system in this country, a democracy in this country, a rule of law in this country that sets us apart, right, from other nations in this world. We believe in a constitution that holds innocence, right, at the centerpiece of our criminal legal system. And that's sort of the organizing principle upon which we raise our children, the way we function in the world, right? When we get stopped by police, when we get pulled over, any interactions we have with law enforcement is based on an understanding that this country operates on an assumption and a presumption of innocence that guides what we do. If we accept, right, that that's not the case, right, then right, like I said, all of us are vulnerable, and that is the truth, right? We now are 4,000 exonerated and counting, but as Vanessa pointed out, up to 6% of the prison population is actually innocent.
We thank you both so much for the time and for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We reached out to Texas's Attorney General for comment on the impending execution of Robert Roberson and did not hear back. Coming up, those photos you've snapped on Snapchat, you may need to pay to keep them. We'll tell you about the major change by the social media app. And October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and this is the 40th year we go by the numbers on how many lives have been saved as a result. And we're joined by a doctor here in studio to answer common questions and make sure we're all aware of the signs. Welcome back, everyone. October marks the 40th anniversary of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and ABC's medical unit is teaming up with the American Cancer Society to give viewers the resources they need. This year's theme is survivorship, thriving after a breast cancer diagnosis. Diagnoses are going up, especially for young adults, but thanks to advances in detection and treatment, more people are living in remission than ever before, and that is tonight's By the Numbers. According to the American Cancer Society, 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime, making it by far the most common cancer for women, excluding skin cancer. Doctors advise having a mammogram every year starting at age 40 for women at average risk. And some good news, breast cancer death rates in the U.S. have dropped by 44% since 1989, thanks to increased early detection and advances in treatment. That translates into more than 500,000 lives saved since the start of breast cancer awareness initiatives 40 years ago. Researchers estimate advances in screening account for about a quarter of the drop in breast cancer deaths, while improved treatments are responsible for the other 3/4. But there still remains a difference in survival rates depending on a woman's race. Black women had up to a 50% higher risk of dying from certain types of breast cancer than their white counterparts. And joining us now for more on treatment options and the groups at greatest risk for breast cancer, Dr. Pamela Drolinsky, medical oncologist at Memorial Sloan Kettering here in New York City. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us. So let's start with detection and how it varies from woman to woman.
So mammography was first approved in the 1970s, and the technology's improved tremendously. And now we know that with dense breasts, you have to add ultrasound. In high-risk groups, we can use MRI of the breast. And the newest technology that has been improved is mammography with contrast.
And give us a sense of the treatments and how they've evolved over time.
So definitely things have improved. With small tumors, we can do surgery first. Sometimes chemotherapy and hormonal therapy is used afterwards. And with larger tumors, especially HER2 positive or with lymph node involvement, we give chemotherapy in combination with antibody treatments like Herceptin and Perjeta for HER2 positive breast cancers. And for something called triple negative breast cancer, we now have immunotherapy.
Give us a sense of the women who tend to be at greatest risk for getting breast cancer.
So as we said, mammography begins at age 40, but if someone has a strong family history, usually in a first-degree relative that's young with a history of breast, ovarian cancer, or male prostate cancer, that should alert a woman to advocate for herself, try to join a high-risk program that a lot of hospitals have around the nation, and request genetic testing.
Of course, not all women have the same access to health care. What kind of barriers do you find that some women have?
So there are a lot of barriers, especially in certain communities. So one of the things Memorial Sloan Kettering has done is try to break those barriers and bring in walk-in mammography in Harlem.
Is hormonal replacement therapy still recommended for women in menopause?
It remains controversial. So if women are under the age of 60 and have many menopausal symptoms, hormonal therapy can still be recommended, but only for a few years. We are seeing some breast cancer in women in their 70s or 80s that are still taking hormonal therapy. So it should be used for an extended period of time.
All right, some really helpful information there. Dr. Pamela Jelinski, we thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And coming up, breakup ballads and girl power anthems are her specialty, and singer Julia Michaels doesn't just write them for herself, but for other stars too. From Selena Gomez to Justin Bieber, Julia Michaels is with us next. And Canada has a warning for some of its citizens traveling to the United States, the mark on their passports that might get them turned away. When Puerto Rican superstar Bad Bunny takes the stage at the Super Bowl in February, a member of the Trump administration says ICE agents will be there. Corey Lewandowski confirmed it when asked in a podcast this week. Lewandowski was once a top campaign advisor to President Trump and now supports the Department of Homeland Security. Bad Bunny previously said he decided not to tour in the United States with his newest album, partially out of fear ICE agents would target his shows. The rapper, like all Puerto Ricans, is an American citizen as it's a U.S. territory. A transit bus bursts into flames on a highway with passengers on board. A popular social media app will start charging for storage, and Rocky Horror Picture Show is going on the road with some familiar faces. These stories and more in tonight's rundown. A frightening scene this morning on the New Jersey Turnpike. This New Jersey transit bus was heading for New York City when it caught on fire. The bus was packed with 49 passengers and an operator, but was safely evacuated and the flames were put out. New Jersey State Police are investigating the incident. A warning from the Canadian government tonight for some of its citizens planning to travel to the U.S. Our northern neighbor has issued a travel advisory saying gender-neutral passports may no longer be accepted when entering the U.S. Canada is one of a handful of countries that allows for an X-gender identifier. Others have also issued the same warning, including Denmark, Germany, Finland, and Ireland. President Trump signed an executive order declaring the U.S. only recognizes two sexes, reversing the Biden administration's policy allowing the use of the X designation. If you want to keep your memories on Snapchat, you may soon have to start paying. The ephemeral social media platform is now facing backlash as the company says users who want to store more than 5 gigabytes of memories will now need to pay $1.99 a month, up to $3.99 a month for even more storage for those already past the limit. The company is giving a 12-month grace period, and if you don't want to pay, you can still save your memories to your device's camera roll. The search is on for a driver after a spectacular crash. This Honda ended up wedged into the side of a Philadelphia home. Police say its driver blew a stop sign and hit another vehicle, critically injuring that driver, then went airborne. The family inside the home was frightened but okay. The Honda driver is still on the run. Police say the car had been reported stolen. Swifties definitely are ready for it. Taylor Swift's 12th studio album, The Life of a Showgirl, drops at midnight. For those who want a head start, Spotify dropped more lyrics from the album ahead of its release. Swift revealed her new album in August on her fiancé Travis Kelce's podcast. Taylor's 3-day theatrical event, Release Party of a Showgirl, is projected to bring in $40 million this weekend and give Swift her second #1 box office debut. Just in time for Halloween, a tour that may feel like a time warp. The Rocky Horror Picture Show is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year with a 55-day tour featuring original cast members, and even kicked off an appearance by Tim Curry, who played Dr. Frankenfooter.
I'm so excited by this and very honored by it.
Rocky Horror was initially a complete flop until it found a new life on the midnight movie circuit. Over the years, the musical film has become a beloved touchstone for misfits everywhere, thanks to its central message, don't dream it, be it. She has a dominant voice in pop music, both in front of the mic and behind the scenes, pen and paper in hand. Julia Michaels probably wrote one of your favorite pop songs of the last decade, writing for everyone from Tate McRae and Sabrina Carpenter to Britney Spears and Justin Bieber. But she doesn't just write for megastars, she writes for herself. Julia's out with a new single and a recently released EP, all on her own label. Arashan Singh met Julia at the studio to talk about her new creative freedom and finding fulfillment in creating for others.
Heartbreak. You could call it Julia Michaels' specialty. The singer-songwriter has long had an uncanny ability to tap into that uncomfortable space, writing the words we just can't find. Not just about loss, but about living better once it's over.
Like in her latest single, No Heartbreaks Killed Me Yet.
That skill has made her the hidden force powerhouse behind some of pop's biggest songs. From breakup ballads like Selena Gomez's Lose You to Love Me.
I needed to lose you to love me, yeah.
To smash hits like Justin Bieber's Sorry. To some of the biggest girl power anthems in recent memory, like Sabrina Carpenter's Taste. And Tate McRae's Sports Car. Julia can turn those relatable, sometimes messy human emotions into perfect pop poetry. And it all starts with intimate moments in the writer's room.
How do you actually build that trust with artists?
I think that you build that trust, honestly, by them knowing that you're not the kind of person that's gonna tell anybody and everybody what they're going through in their life. Like, I'm very professional in that way. They can trust me in that way.
Yeah, it seems like for as much as the songwriting is your superpower, so is empathy in a lot of ways.
For sure. A lot of my job is empathy.
Julia began writing songs professionally in her teens, but in 2017 came a change of heart. Julia took the mic for herself, releasing the transparent confessional, Issues.
'Cause I got issues, but you got them too. So give them all to me and I'll give mine to you.
How did you decide that I'm actually gonna keep issues for myself?
I was in a relationship with somebody and he was pretty terrible. And so I had issues written down in my phone and we had this really big fight. And it was just kind of the first very personal song that I had ever written, and I remember they were going out to pitch it
To other artists?
Yeah. I was like, I don't feel like this is right. And then it was just everywhere. You know, when you're writing songs, that's it. You write the song, you get to do this amazing thing, and you get to do it again. And
You live in relative anonymity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Her EP, Nervous System, followed in 2017, followed by two more hit EPs, Inner Monologue Part 1 and Part 2 in 2019. The former featuring the smash hit, What a Time.
What a time, what a time, what a time for you and I.
Her full-length album, not in chronological order, came in 2021, featuring all your exes.
I wanna live in a world where there's no exes at all. Like
You referred to that duality of kind of being a songwriter and a singer as being Batman and Bruce Wayne. Which one is Batman? And which one's Bruce Wayne?
That's a really great question. Yeah, I think of Bruce Wayne as the songwriter that's, behind the scenes.
Julia's songwriting style, unafraid to tackle themes like anxiety and self-discovery, plus her raw emotion on stage, a perfect blend.
And you were so open kind of in the years ensuing about sort of the anxiety that artists face dealing with sort of this newfound fame.
Definitely.
How did you deal?
I swear by therapy. There was a time when even when I started having success quite early, I started having panic attacks because I think I was afraid of the expectation, like for shows. I had such a routine. I was like, cool, I'm gonna listen to this music, I'm gonna get ready by myself, I'm gonna do my vocal warm-ups, I'm gonna breathe.
And this spring, Julia's EP, Second Self, dropped, her first full-length release as an independent artist, with the single, Try Your Luck.
You can come and try your luck. If you wanna come, try your luck.
I feel like I really wanted to show off as many facets of my personality. I think too, because I came out as a very emotional person, I get scared that people only want to hear emotional things from me.
Yeah, you had said that issues had kind of billed you as the sad girl.
Yeah, and I write sexy songs with Selena. I write, funny songs with Sabrina. I write really fun, like hot, sexy songs with Tate.
The EP, part of her own recording label, GFY.
From going and being Bruce Wayne to being Batman now. But tell me about going independent and the decision to do that.
Yeah, so I was signed to a major label for a very long time. It was really great when it was great. And I feel like towards the end, it was a lot harder for me to be able to put out songs that I really loved. Finally, we amicably had the opportunity to leave.
All of this, just the cherry on top of another mega year for the 31-year-old and an already iconic, genre-spanning career with 6 Grammy nominations under her belt.
Over a decade later, 60 billion streams as a songwriter. I think 13 billion streams as a solo artist. I think over 15 diamond certifications and almost 200 platinum certifications.
I didn't know that.
When you hear all that, how does it hit you now?
It's overwhelming because I still feel like I'm so young.
Julia, all this to say, when you look at where you are now, what would you tell 17-year-old you who was
Nothing.
making the dupes? Nothing.
No. Because I'm really proud of who I am today. And I think that I wouldn't obviously be who I am today if I could go back in time and tell this person, hey, don't date this person, don't do this, don't say this, because those have all been learning curves for me in my life. So I think if I could go back, I wouldn't tell her anything. Just make your mistakes. Do what you gotta do.
What great advice. Our thanks to Ashin for that conversation. And streaming right now on Hulu and Disney Plus, The Playlist presents Dale Play this Hispanic Heritage Month. Meet artists whose music is changing the landscape of the industry, honoring culture and transcending boundaries, featuring Prince Royce, Bomba Estéreo, and Ivan Cornejo. And that's our show for this hour. I'm Linsey Davis. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks so much for streaming with us.